Okay, Beach. Commanders travel to Detroit, and holy shit, this line's 9.5 points
So
for the
big.
Lions. In fairness, I think it's kind of rightly priced, all things considered. If you look at what the Lions have been able to do at home, Commanders, fun win. They went on the road against Tampa Bay last week, and they got a gutsy win last week. Jayden Daniels, dude, no matter how poor performance the offensive line does, he elevates the team. He's making plays under immense amount of pressure. He's going out there balling with De'Ami Brown as his wide receiver too. You can't doubt this guy. So as much as I think the Commanders have woes, especially on the defensive side of the ball, I just want to throw that out there that the next few minutes of this video are not a jab at him. It's a jab at the Commanders and the holes that they have, which, easily fillable over the next year or two and can make this team a playoff. But yeah, kudos to him. He's phenomenal. I think he's going to make some big plays in this game. It is at Detroit in the Dome, so it's kind of cooking. It's cooking to be a good one, offensively speaking. So we'll get into that as well. But Lions are coming off of the bye week as well. They finally are getting a few key guys healthy, notably David Montgomery back in the backfield, Alex Anzalone on the defensive side of the ball. Huge pickup for both of them. Not only are they guys who add so much to both sides of the football, but they're also glue guys. David Montgomery, he's been talked about as the heartbeat for the offense at times. It's Knuckles, And so Sonic can't be Sonic without Knuckles, even though he kind of has been. But then Alex Anzalone, he's the captain. He calls the plays on the defensive side of the ball, so that's huge as well. So secondary has been cleaned up a little bit as well. So lots of exciting things leaning into this game, BJ. So 9.5 points, man. What was your thoughts when you saw that spread? I think we were talking when you first saw it, and if I remember correctly, your reaction was kind of the same as mine. So what's your thoughts there?
My reaction was, how can I take a 10-point spread, someone to cover that in the playoffs?
But I know you are.
Then I remembered who the Lions are, and that they will not be caught sleepwalking because Dan Campbell's gonna give them much pre-workout before they'll go in the locker room, and they're gonna come out firing. And they just dominate teams. I'm trying to keep it PG.
Dude,
they dominate teams. That's what I'll say.
So
I do.
I have to vent a little bit too. I was on the Bucs to win that game last week. The model was, and they kudos to the Commanders. They took advantage of a mistake that Baker Mayfield and Jalen McMillan played in that botched handoff. And they kept them close. They kept them close enough to where that play happened, and they took advantage of it and won. So, but I will say that I was not anticipating that. We kind of saw some of the holes a little bit in their defense, and we're going to talk about that as well. But model projection, BJ, Lions 27, Commanders 22. So only a 5-point spread from the model's perspective. The model's highest totaled game, in fact, though. So it kind of correlates with Vegas here pricing this game as a 55.5 over-under. There's going to be fireworks on both sides of the ball. So how much? I don't know. To be determined. We talk about Detroit's offense, who's third overall in EPA per play, first overall in offensive success rate. And golly, you look at their categories, they're top 10 in everything, passing, rushing yards per attempt, passing yards per attempt. It's insane. Their offensive line is a top 3 offensive line, and they're not number 3. They're number 1 or 2. They contend with the Eagles, and it's insane. So it's like you look at the offense, and it's like, what do you even do? And my concern is the Washington defense. They're 20th overall on EPA per play, 19th overall in success right now. Kudos to the Commanders. That number at the beginning of the season was real bad. Real bad. So, in fact, that number's gotten significantly better as the season's progressed. Dan Quinn has done a great job of kind of molding these guys into formidable defenders on that side of the ball, but they're still weak there. And you can, in fact, shred them in the running game. And so I think Ben Johnson is licking his chops. They're 30th overall in rushing yards per game allowed, giving up 137 yards per game. 28th overall in rushing yards per attempt, giving up nearly 5 yards per carry. The Lions are arguably the best. They're right behind the Ravens in terms of rushing efficiency. And so now that you get David Montgomery back, you have the 1-2 punch that you were riding all year at the beginning of the year. It's looking bleak for the Commanders.
Mm-hmm.
And so that this game will truly come down to Jayden Daniels. Like, can he just go absolutely freaking nuts, carry the team, and keep up? I don't anticipate. Every game that we talk about, BJ, we say something along the lines of like what we expect, what we think is going to happen. But there's always a bit of, like, oh, maybe it doesn't happen. Maybe this team doesn't put up that many points. There's no way in hell that the Detroit offense is not putting up 25 plus this game.
Listen
There's
to me.
No way.
Listen to me. I really think, I'm being so serious right now. I really think that they could score on every offensive drive. Every time they get the ball, I think they could probably score. And but like the reason is like you talk about the Commanders being so bad on the run, against the run on the defensive side. Like, sorry, man, I'm talking on my hands. Like, you can talk about the running backs all you want, but it's the offensive line is so good. And then you've got Jahmyr Gibbs going 0 to 60 in about a half a second. Then you've got Ben Johnson, who's best offensive coordinator. He almost left last year. I'm glad he didn't. But like best offensive coordinator in the league. And you got Aaron Glenn, the best defensive coordinator in the league. They might both be head coaches next year. It's like this is the year for the Lions. But
it is.
Yeah. Offensively speaking, I don't know how the Commanders are going to stop this offense. They can beat you anyway.
And I, wouldn't really anticipate them on having a bunch of stops. They may have, some good stops, some crucial stops at times, but you can't ask them to go in there and stop. What you have to do is you have to ask Jayden Daniels to be Superman, which he can be. But here's the other point of concern, BJ. As bullish as I can possibly try and make myself for the Commanders keeping this one close and potentially even winning, the mismatch here is really, really tough. In fact, the Detroit defense has had a lot of problems. They had bad injuries. They were at one point later in the regular season, they had 9 starters out due to injury. Yet they still were resilient and put up halfway decent numbers, dude. You look at the Detroit defense, they're 6th overall on EPA per play allowed, 7th overall in defensive success rate. You can pass on this team, certainly. So that's one thing that you could say, hey, Jayden Daniels is one of the best deep ball passers in this game. Him and Terry may light it up, which they very well might, but they're going to have to play keep up for one. Secondly, Detroit Lions rushing defense, so good. So if you can turn Jayden Daniels in this offense into a one-dimensional offense, that's even a worse recipe for disaster. You look at the Detroit defense, they're 5th overall in rushing yards per game allowed, only giving up 98 rushing yards per game. It's going to be tough sailing, especially with guys healthy. I do my best to give bull case, bear case for both teams, but I'm having a real hard time justifying a Commanders win.
I mean, I can tell you this. This is just the only thing for me. If Jayden Daniels goes off script and has over 100 rushing yards off scrambles, I mean, I could see explosive plays happening that way. But just run the ball regularly, passing the ball regularly. I mean, I take all these no-name Lions DBs against anybody at this point. I mean, you saw what they did against the Vikings a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Playing man like the whole time against Justin Jefferson. He had like 50 yards or something. So.
Terry McLaurin may have 200 yards this game.
He'll get targeted 20 times.
Because, I mean, that's the facet of the Detroit Lions defense that you can exploit, the secondary. And Jayden Daniels is one of the best deep ball passers in the game already as a rookie. So he may go. And that's what you're going to have to try and scheme up. But I'm sure the Detroit Lions also know their own weaknesses and the fact that Terry McLaurin's really the only guy on the outside that can make those kind of plays. But it's
only 5 in the box. Shell.
Yeah.
Don't let anything over the top. Just do the 10 to 15 yard throws. Those will be the only ones open and lock them up.
So, hey, I don't want this to put like people may leave this game and find a reason to talk shit about Jayden Daniels. The fact that Jayden Daniels is here in the divisional round with the team that he is on,
As a
their
rookie.
defense is so shitty. Their offense, their playmakers, again, I mentioned their wide receiver too, De'Ami Brown. Their offensive line is horrible. Bottom tier in the league, especially in terms of pressures allowed. And Jayden Daniels still makes plays left and right, dude. He is so resilient. He is so poised. And so I absolutely expect him to go in there and make some plays. But again, it's just, it feels like the Lions are the team of destiny this year. They have everything going right for them that they need to go right. They're healthy. They have the break. I expect them to come out here and beat some ass.